Hello and welcome to the Artist Shop in downtown Athens, Georgia. I'm Kristen Ashley, and here with me today is Katia Oloy. Katia is an amazing designer and illustrator. She's worked for Star Wars and Disney, and we're so lucky to have her in town. She's in town for a designers conference, and she's agreed to come and teach a class while she's here this Friday, April 17th from 3:30 to 7:30 here at the shop. The class is called Character Design and Illustration, and you can sign up online at kaartist.com, as well as here in the shop. We're at 127 North Jackson Street in downtown Athens, Georgia, across the street from UGA, above the Pita Pit, and next to Community. So Katia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what we can expect in the class?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Katia. I am a Burbank-based animator, illustrator, visual storyteller, and all-around animation professional. I was at Disney working as an art director for Disney's It's a Small World, the animated series. Check it out on YouTube, it's pretty cool. And I'm currently at Scopely as a senior concept artist. My bread and butter is character design, illustration, and again, visual storytelling, storyboarding, all this cool stuff. And I'm super excited to present to you this class on character design and illustration. We will be discussing a variety of different subjects, which includes appeal. How do we make our drawings appealing? How do we tell a story through our drawings? How do we execute appeal through our drawings? And also I'll be available to do a demonstration and also answer any questions you guys have about the industry, about illustration, and anything else. So I'm really looking forward to it. You guys should come down.
Awesome. Don't forget you can sign up at kaartist.com. And as a teaser for the class, Katia has agreed to draw a picture of my dog, Kelly.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see what she shares with us.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Let's get started. Hi guys, Katia here. I'm gonna do a quick review of the materials we will be using today. Starting off with the kneaded eraser, also known as a pliable eraser. One of my favorite pencil companies, Staedtler, I'm gonna be working with a 2B, although 4B is great as well. 2B is great because it erases a little bit better. And we're using a variety of brush pens. For the class that I'll be teaching, there are 4 different palettes available for you to use. For today's demonstration, we will be using the Retro palette, and they are Faber-Castell brush pens. Dun, dun, dun. And in addition to that, we will be using the Sakura Pigma brush pens in a variety of 3 weights. We have big, medium, and fine. So I like to start just sketching. Loosey-goosey, don't worry about it. You're just getting a feel for your subject. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna move this down a bit, get Kelly in the frame. There she is. And just draw. So we wanna get the general form or general shape of Kelly, right? Just to get an understanding of the space that she occupies. And you'll notice I'm not too worried about the shapes. I'm not panicking if I do it wrong, because this is just an experiment. I just want to have a good feel of what's going on. So this would be an eye line, just blocking out where some of the shapes would be. Identity is linked to proportions. So a human's proportions with their eyes and their face tends to be a little bit more like this. Nose, mouth, eyes, ears. For a dog, it's obviously going to be quite different. So every subject that you caricature is going to be a little different from one another, and that's what drives that identity. I'm going to block out the ears. The ears are falling against her head, so we want to honor that form, that volume here. Block that out, because the ears are really just laying on top of the head, right? Block out this, move this over just a bit, block out this leg. Here's a wrist, roughly. All right, and I start to get an understanding, okay, this is kind of where this mass is. Here, her shoulder blades are going to be here, following that line. Here's her other leg. All right. So great. We've done an experiment. We have some sort of a feeling of where we want to go. with Kelly, right? We're getting familiar with her. We're getting to know her. So now we're going to start to caricature. Now, if you want to keep your sketches to the side, some of the experiments that you do. I mean, even if you want to do something a little bit more cutesy, other explorations, if you feel like that'll help, keep that near you, right? And you realize, oh, you know what? Instead of making her eyes like a circle, maybe I want to have them like square or like triangles. You can do that. It's great. But I think for the sake of this caricature, I think using the circles is going to be a little bit more appealing. It's a little bit cuter, it's a little bit sweeter, so we're going to go with that. Now again, talking about volumes. As it is right now, you can't really tell the difference whether this is a dog or a pig or a bear because you have a lot of silhouette information here. It could be any of those animals. So the way that you show or you make an indication that it is a dog is, again, alluding to the cylinders, alluding to the volumes in the head. So the way that we would do that is we would do a line here and here, and you get the sense, oh, okay, that's a different form, that's a different volume from the chest area. Do a little bit of fur here. So you guys will notice I say information a lot, and I use that word specifically because that's what you're doing. You're conveying information. You're not conveying just shading, oh, this is just fur. What you're saying is how the fur is laying on the body, where is it sticking out from, what is the lighting information. My line work tends to be darker at the bottom of a form because that's the light information, that's the weight information that I'm telling you. All right. So here we are. We're pretty much wrapped up on pencil work. Let's give her a little bit of a tail peeking out like that. And again, talking about information, looking at the source material, you guys will notice, you see how the fur sticks out here? I kind of want to use that because that's telling me that the fur wants to stick out that way because it's almost being folded in, right? And now it's pushing and alluding to the fact that this is a leg. It's not just a random kind of body part sticking out there. All right, so now we're going to move on to doing the line work and coloring it in or giving the color information of this illustration. So I really liked using the blue and the black on her and using the really vibrant colors around her. That will create a sort of contrast. So I'm going to start with, again, the information here to denote that not a whole lot of light is coming down here on this part of her body. Using the pencil lines that I used earlier as a reference point. And learning from my mistake from the other one to leave that negative space, the white space here. And I'm just going to avoid touching this part of her arm, her forearm, because that negative space is already telling me a lot of information. I don't need to go over it in black. It's telling me that is a different form, that's a different volume. Darker colors tend to recede, and lighter colors tend to pull forward. So we know this is farther back and this is farther forward. Now you'll notice I'm giving her a little bit more blunted teeth rather than like the traditional like sharp ones. And the reason for that is because sharp objects tend to be scarier. A good example of that would be any sort of villain character design. They tend to have a lot of triangles, they have a lot of jagged edges. But for a sweeter, more docile character, you want to avoid those sorts of shapes and those sorts of lines. Which is why she has cute little teeth, like so. Let's try to decide. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do all black. And I'm not going to fill in the circle, although I want a little bit of a highlight. The same thing here. A little bit of a highlight. And I'm going to go down one width in my pen just to limit the error possibility that I make it too thick. So, same thing with her nostrils. Now you want to use the right tool for the right job. If I'm going to be filling in a ton of space, I do not want to be using a fine pen. I want to be using a big one. All right, move that out of the way. Let's put a little bit of red in there. Again, information. If I put red here, that's telling me that's inside of her mouth. What else would it be? All right, now we're going to move on to more line work. So again, I'm going to use a medium brush pen. I'm going to start demarking sort of the space information, the spatial relationships of these forms from one another. Right? And I tend to start with a medium pen because it's the middle ground. And then I'll go up one size for smaller areas, for big areas. An example of that would be here. Right? I'll go up one pen, or I'll go down one from the medium for information here. Because this is light, it's the top, and there's not a whole lot of darkness there, so I want to use a fine brushed pen. Likewise, for the top of her head, I want a thinner line, because it's not going to be as dark as these lines here. There's way more light up here in these areas. Like that. So I want this to stay, for the most part, white. And you know what? Let's block it out with a pencil first, the light information. So I know I want roughly this area to stay white. Like so. Maybe that part can be yellow with bits of green here. All right. Now you'll notice the way that I'm holding my pen, it's to the side like that. The reason for that is if I hold it like so, the line is much thinner. But if I hold it to the side, I can cover more of a surface area. Line weight is super important. It's going to communicate a lot of information for you. So when you're bored and you've got a marker on hand, practice your line weight. Practice doing cross-hatching, thick lines, thin lines, dots. Put them next to each other, put them on top of each other, and ask yourself, like, what is this saying? What does this sort of look like? And then you could use those sorts of teachings, those learnings that you've taught yourself in your work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katia. She looks amazing.
Thank you.
Don't forget, you guys got to sign up for Katia's class. It's this Friday, April 17th from 3:30 to 7:30. You can sign up online at kaartist.com or come up to the shop and sign up here. We're at 127 North Jackson Street in downtown Athens, Georgia. So again, thank you so much. We're really looking forward to the class.
Of course, yeah. And I'm really looking forward to it too. And come on down and I'll see you guys Friday. Thanks again for having me.